Good evening from my part of the world. Good evening from my part of the world. "14 days to 14th September. It's another 8 p.m. Let's have a conversation. How has your week been? How often do you pause? How frequently do you pause and assess your life and on what barometers? Because in the end, the question won't be whether the world will call you successful, but whether you look at your life and call it meaningful. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. Obiara body also be any at the end. Can your soul attest to the fact that you lived a meaningful life? Not everybody celebrated you and thought you were doing so well. You know, we can lie to everybody, but you can never lie to your soul. So in the end, the question is not whether the world will call you successful or not, but whether you will look at your life and call it meaningful. How frequently do you pause and assess your life? Like every storekeeper will take stock. Unless otherwise, they will just go for things in their shops and sell until it gets finished and they'll go bring in. That to me is not business. Whether there's a profit or loss, you'll not even know because there's no stock taken. Life moves fast. Life moves very fast. Days turn into weeks into months, and before we realize it, years have passed. Was it not just yesterday that I celebrated 14th September? And hooray! Another September is here, and 14th is staring right into my eyes. So, yes, life moves fast. Days turn into weeks into months, and in no time, years have passed. In the midst of this speed, many people go through life without pausing to truly ask, am I living intentionally or am merely drifting? Because if diagram January beba, 31st December to beba, they best celebrate Easter, I celebrate Christmas, I celebrate your birthday, and the year will end. And when you beba also no, not 2 years, 5 years, 10 years are back. How often, how frequently do we pause and assess our lives and on what barometers? In the midst of this speed, many people go through life without pausing to truly ask, am I living intentionally or merely drifting? Am I living intentionally or merely drifting? The truth is, one of the greatest disciplines we can cultivate is the ability to pause, reflect, and measure the direction of our lives. One of the greatest disciplines we can cultivate is the ability to pause, reflect, and measure the direction of our lives. Ayɛ sɛ wo driving na wokɔ na baabi a wokɔ no wohu kwan no ani so papa. Anaa wonim kwan no koraa but wonyɛ sure. Wakɔ hɔ da but signs bi a wohu no because of changes, roadworks or anything. And w'adwene ne sɛ wombisa obiara. You are just going. Even when there's diversion, you won't ask. Nti wobɛkɔ akɔdu baabi a wobɛka and realize it's a dead end. Can you imagine the miles you have driven, the kilometers you've wasted, and sa wasansa wɔakyia bɛsi kwan mu bio? In the midst of this speed, many people are just going through life without pausing to ask, am I living intentionally or merely drifting? Abrabɔ no sei ara na mepɛ no, anaa mebɔ biara kɛkɛ. Nti ɛsɛ mesan m'akyi, ɛsɛ metu mmirika, ɛsɛ metu me bo ase wɔ ha. Do we really take this stock and get to know what you have to do before we waste time and waste life? Do we really pause to truly ask, am I living intentionally or merely drifting? The truth is, one of the greatest disciplines we can cultivate is the ability to pause, reflect, and measure the direction of our lives. But this raises two important questions that posed early on. Number one, how often do we pause? And number two, what barometers do we use to assess our journeys? How often, how frequently do we pause? And what barometers do we use to assess our journeys? Anaa yɛdim yɛkɔ yɛba. Awurade ama yɛn nkwa, yɛyɛ adwumaden, yɛnyɛ sika, yɛbɔ bra. How frequently do we pause? And what barometers do we use to assess our journey? That's why people get depressed because musa braboni ko baby because they don't take stock. And ko baby, but you are able to be doing things. You are able to still stay in school, pay your school fees, get food to eat, get a roof over your head. And that's why some people also get stuck in mediocrity because the situation is still the same. But because it's become robotic, they don't even reflect on it. Oh, yes, I have a roof over my head. What's next? What next? Yes, I get food to eat. What's next? Is that all life is about? So these two questions are very critical. How often, how frequently do we pause? And what barometers do we use to assess our journeys? For some, reflection only happens at milestones. Ɔtwɛn within the 30th birthday and so we say, Ogusu new. I feel ready 40, 50. Me dear grade by me. No. Some New Year's Eve. Or bet show be down. Assign your date at short time. At our first quarter, none of your. So for some, reflection only happens at milestones, birthdays, New Year's Eve, or after major events such as a new job, getting married, or even a loss. While these moments do inspire introspection, waiting for them can be dangerous. Wotwɛn ama bibi huhu bi asi w'abrabɔ mu ansa wɔdane w'ani ahu sɛ baabi a mene na memeyɛ ayera kwan. And mmirika ne dɔɔso dodo manyɛ careful a mɛbɔ fam sisi a asɛm bɛto yɛn. Asɛm bɛto yɛn. asɛm ɛbɛto yɛn. Asɛm ɛbɛto yɛn. Sɛ yɛama yɛn ani anda hɔ and we don't take stock of our life periodically, we will just be drifting through life, and whether we like it or not, afe bɛso, afe bɛba, afe bɛkɔ, afe bɛso, and yet nothing exactly will be happening. So waiting on these, while these moments can inspire introspection, waiting on them can be dangerous. You don't need New Year's Eve before you consider your life. You don't need a milestone, a birthday, a major event before you take stock of your life. These moments do inspire introspection, yes, but waiting on them can be dangerous. Life deserves a regular assessment because growth is a process, not an event. Life deserves a regular assessment because growth is a process, not an event. If we see growth as an event, as Ambetoye, it's a process, it's not an event. Just as businesses track progress through quarterly reviews, athletes measure performance consistently. Individuals, you and I, must adopt a rhythm of reflection too. Pausing weekly or monthly, bi-weekly, quarterly to ask, am I aligned with my values? Am I moving toward my goals? Ensures that life does not slip away unnoticed. You determine it, but it should not just be a milestone or a major event. There should be a rhythm of reflection that is determined by you. To pause to ask yourself, am I aligned with my values? Am I moving toward my goals? This ensures that life does not slip away unnoticed. The second and perhaps more critical element is the barometer we use to measure our lives. The barometer we use to measure our lives. Too often people use the wrong standards. The wrong standards. Wealth, social media validation, or comparison with others. Today that people can buy likes and can buy everything we see on social media. If others measure their lives by this validation, won't their souls bleed? When you are comparing your reality with people's curated lives, won't your soul bleed? When all of us know that social media is an invisible Disneyland, and you are comparing the reality of your life to people's curated lives, your soul will definitely bleed. So the second and perhaps the more critical element is the barometer we use to measure our lives. When we use the wrong standards, our souls will bleed. Social media validation, wealth, comparison with others. These are unreliable because they fluctuate and can leave us feeling empty even when we appear successful. They are very unreliable because they fluctuate and they can leave us feeling empty even when we know deep down we are doing well with our lives. So the barometer is equally important, much important than even the periods we pause to do these assessments. A meaningful life assessment requires deeper barometers. I don't know about you, but I think a meaningful life assessment requires deeper barometers. Instead of using wealth, social media validation, comparison with others, and all the other kind of self-actualization that might even mean nothing to anybody else, why don't we consider purpose, relationships, growth, impact, and well-being, and the rest according to your specifications? Purpose, am I living in line with what I believe I was created to do? Can you imagine the growth and the peace of mind, the authenticity that will bring to us if we use the right barometers such as purpose? Am I living in line with what I believe, not what society and religion dump on me, not what other people's opinion handed to me, but what I believe I was created to do? Relationships, are the people around me nourished by my presence or drained by it? And the opposite is equally true. Am I nourished? Am I fueled by the people around me or they are draining my life? Growth. Am I wiser, stronger, or more compassionate than I was a year ago? In other words, am I evolving? Am I becoming better? To me, growth is important than what society would damn the barometers that society would hand over to me. Because this has to do with who I am becoming. Impact. Is my life leaving positive footprints in the hearts of others? And the well-being. 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 I don't know how I can hammer this home. Well-being. Am I nurturing my mental? I think this was even supposed to be first or second after purpose. Am I nurturing my mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, and physical health? A people that mental health is not thing that we take notice of. We don't even consider it crucial. Am I nurturing my mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, and physical health? So you determine the barometers, not what society hands down to you, not other people's opinion of what a successful life should look for you. These barometers are not about perfection, but about progress. Nti afe nkɔ na afe mma, and it looks like you are just robotic routines that you are following. Every day you wake up, you know it is leading you into the bigger goal of a measured barometer. They allow us to measure life not by external applause, but by internal alignment. By internal alignment. To measure life not by the external applause, but by our own internal alignment. And that brings us so much peace of mind. Not by any external applause, but by our own internal alignment. Because in the end, the frequency of pulsing and the quality of our barometers will determine whether our lives drift into regret or grow into fulfillment. The frequency of pulsing and the quality of our barometers will determine whether our lives drift into regret or grows into fulfillment. Whether our lives whether our own lives drift into regret or grow into fulfillment. A life unexamined is a life on autopilot. Everything is robotic. A life unexamined. Yɛnna mu a ne yɛnna mu na yɛkɔ na yɛba na yɛnna mu. No stock taking. No assessment. A life unexamined is a life on autopilot. But a life consistently reflected upon is one that steadily moves closer to its purpose. A burden when we say about as a business person, if you don't have books and if you don't take stock, burdens when we say when you're so. A life unexamined is a life on autopilot, but a life consistently reflected upon is one that steadily moves closer to its purpose. So pause often, pause frequently, measure wisely, and live deliberately. If you can't qualify what a successful life looks like for you, and you want to go by the standards of society or others, you will never live. Only drift. Only drift. If you, what would you what a successful life means to you? Now, what train and what to say, now would you achieve, what you know what to say, we never so now you be. You will just be drifting through life. You will never fully live. If you want to go by the standard of society or other people's opinion and their perspectives, you will never fully live. You would only drift. Success is one of the most misunderstood words in human history. Success is one of the most misunderstood words in human history. For some, it means wealth. For others, it means influence, fame, or power. Yet, what society often forgets, what society many a time forgets, is that success is not a universal standard. Success is not a universal standard. It is deeply personal. It's often personal. It is deeply personal. It is not a universal standard. If you cannot clearly define what success looks like for you, you risk spending your entire life chasing someone else's dream, only to realize, and many a time too late, you are busily chasing some people's dreams, only to realize that it was never yours. And that is why lots of people are up there and still no fulfillment, no satisfaction, no happiness, no joy in their souls. Success is the most misunderstood words in human history. While some people think it's wealth, others it means influence, fame, or power. That makes them feel successful. Yet society often forgets that success is not a universal standard. It is deeply personal. It is deeply personal. It is not and it will never be a universal standard. So if you cannot define clearly what success looks like for you, you risk spending your entire life chasing other people's dreams, only to realize, and many often too late, that it was never yours. It was never truly yours. When people allow society to dictate the measure of success, they surrender their individuality. So wotwa ma society abɛkyerɛ wo how your life is supposed to be successful, you will lose yourself. You will lose your individuality. You'll be a zombie. So society will see you as successful, but your soul will come back telling you, this is not the life you are supposed to live. When you and I allow society to dictate the measure of success, we will surrender our individuality. The world tells us to climb the corporate ladder, buy bigger houses, marry by a certain age, even determine who should be your spec, your own life. Marry by a certain age, achieve certain milestones that fit neatly into cultural scripts. A script that is going to live by who? Abrabona, you are going to live it, and so be handed a script to you, and you take the script and busily living it until you turn around some time to come and realize this is not the way you want your life to go. And here is the tragedy. Society's bar is not only shifting, it is also shallow. The bar that you allow society to hand over to you, it is drifting, and it's also shallow. The applause of the crowd today can turn into silence tomorrow, leaving you empty and unfulfilled. Nti wɔn a ɛbɔ wo so ɛnɛ no, ebedi ɔkyena deɛ wɔde bɔgye wo so no, somebody will get higher and better, and then they will leave you behind. Why would you tie your life according to script you never wrote? The applause of the crowd today can turn into silence tomorrow, leaving you empty and unfulfilled. The facts will be interest It is your life. You determine the barometers that you measure success with. To live without your own definition of success is to drift. To live without your own definition of success is to drift. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with a friend, and I told him that I know people that they can't seek like $10,000 of Felice, they are broke. Whereby we bring $10,000 and then a brand because the Odibe year no, you'll be amazed. Just like people are waiting from paycheck to paycheck, there are some people, or Tihono will need a certain kind of amount on him, of let's say he or she is broke. So that tells you success is not a universal measurement. It is not a universal measurement. Society's bar is not only shifting, it is also shallow. They are now here on the or somebody can do better, and nobody will clap for you again. So why don't you search within yourself and find out what would bring you that fulfillment you need as a full agentic adult? The applause of the crowd today can turn into silence tomorrow, leaving you with your life empty and unfulfilled. To live without your own definition of success is to just drift. It is like being in a boat without a compass. Imagine it. I said, now let's sit down and see life in images. When a thought crosses your mind, picture it. And see how funny we sound and look. And yeah, that's the way we are living. To live without your own definition of success is to drift. It's like being in a boat without a compass. So picture you in a boat without a compass. You may be moving, but you are not going anywhere meaningful. Into Bijinatino show was still movie because the boat, of course, is moving. But as long as there is no compass, you are not going anywhere meaningful. As long as there is no compass, you are moving, but you are not going anywhere meaningful. And yet society will see you. As long as the boat is moving, they are clapping for you. But your soul knows you are making meaningless effort. You spend your years comparing, competing, and conforming, only to realize you never truly lived. Picture it right now that you are in a boat without a compass. You are moving, and everybody thinks you are moving, clapping for you, celebrating you, but you are moving, and yet you are not going anywhere meaningful. So we call round, 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 round. Busy but unproductive. Busy but not fruitful. Spending years comparing, competing, and conforming, only to realize you never truly lived. Wasted life. Success borrowed from others cannot give you peace because it does not reflect your authentic self. A truly successful life must be qualified by your own values, vision, and purpose. A truly successful life must be qualified by your own values, vision, and purpose, not what society and other people hand over to you. A truly successful life must be qualified by your own values, vision, and purpose. For some, it may be raising a healthy family. Nti wo sika no a woanya abu so no, raising a healthy family, a wholesome family, to them is a successful life. To others, it might be serving their community, building businesses, creating art, or living a deep spiritual alignment. To some, they might be financially solvent, such that they are the condo we are bit in a year. It is determined by the individual. Whatever it is, it must resonate with your heart. To some, walking into a shop, a place, and buying anything they want without considering the financial implication of it is a successful life to them. That is it. If you don't want it today, do. So why would we measure our lives and want the barometers to be the same across the board? Whatever it is to you, it must resonate with your heart, not society's applause. Only then can life feel intentional, fulfilling, and whole. Only then. When your barometers resonate with your heart, not society's applause, only then can life feel intentional, fulfilling, and whole. In the end, the question is not whether the world will call you successful or not, but whether you will look at your life and call it meaningful. In the end, the question is not whether the world will call you successful or not, but whether you can look at your life and consider it meaningful. Define success on your terms. Live aligned with it, and you will live fully. Leave it undefined, and you would merely drift through borrowed standards and empty validations. Define success on your terms. Live aligned with it, and you can live truly and fully. Leave it undefined, and you merely drift through borrowed standards and empty validations. When everybody thinks all is well with you, and yet your soul can't resonate with the life you are living. Borrowed standards and empty validations. So pause and ask yourself today, what does a successful life look like to me? Pause and ask yourself today, what does a successful life look like to me? Until you answer, you would never truly live. Until you answer this, you will never truly live. Life in its essence is a journey. Every day we take steps, make choices, and invest our time in pursuits that shape who we are becoming. Every day, whatever we do in our life, whatever we do in our lives, whatever we do with our lives, whatever we do in our lives, shape who we are becoming. Yet the difference between a life of fulfillment and a life of emptiness lies in one crucial factor, and that is direction. 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 To live without your own definition of success is to drift through life, just like being a boat without a compass. Would you consider being a boat without a compass? No. So let's begin seeing our lives in images. To live without your own definition of success is to drift through life, just like being in a boat without a compass. Moving, but not moving meaningfully. When you and I fail to define success for ourselves, we allow others, society, culture, religion, friends, or even strangers to impose their definitions upon us. The danger is that their standards may have nothing to do with our purpose. The sad aspect of life is that the standards people hand over to you, impose on you, the barometers you allow society, religion, other people to hand over to you might mean nothing to your purpose, may have nothing to do with your life and your purpose. We all sometimes forget that what might be self-actualization to others might mean nothing to us. One moment success may look like money. The next, it can look like fame or social approval. The world's definition keeps changing, but your soul will never rest until you live by your own. The world's definition keeps changing, but your soul will never rest until you live by your own definition. Without clarity, you risk spending decades climbing a ladder only to find out that that ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Picture this. Picture this. Wayere wo ho paa sɛ wobɔ bra. Woforo antre ladder na yɛde atwere down na woforo no. Wayɛ wo ho aforo akɔdu soro only to realize that it was leaning against the wrong wall. Antwere no a woaforo akɔdu soro na wohwɛ fam na sɛbi wofiri sɛ obi a ɔwɔ fam bi anim nyansa na wɔ soro nti wonim nyansa no only to discover at the top say antwere no was leaning against the wrong wall. That was never the wall you intended to climb. Nti when you are more form no, what is the difference? And that is exactly what a greater percentage of people are doing now. Spending decades climbing a ladder only to find he was leaning against the wrong wall. Imagine being at sea in a boat without a compass. Do you want to imagine that? When you close your eyes and imagine that, what comes to your mind? The waves may carry you, the winds may push you, and from the outside it may seem like you are moving. You are moving, but in truth, you are the mercy of forces you cannot control. Can you control the wind? Can you control the waves? No. But because you are in a boat and the waves is carrying you and the winds are pushing you, people outside think you are moving. But you are the mercy of forces you cannot control because there is no compass. And sooner or later, you would end up somewhere you never intended to be. That is what life becomes when you drift. That is what life becomes when you drift. Motion without direction, activity without meaning. Defining success for yourself does not mean ignoring growth or rejecting society's wisdom. No, that's not what I'm saying. It means asking deeper questions. It means asking questions like, what do I value the most? What brings me peace of mind? What kind of life to live? Yeah, and they are still successful. For others, it may be raising wholesome children. They are still successful. That is their barometer. Nurturing meaningful relationships or living in alignment with spiritual convictions. Whatever it is, your definition must be personal. Your definition must be personal, authentic, and rooted in your values. In your own values. Because in the end, life rewards clarity. Life rewards clarity. When you know what success looks like for you, every decision becomes purposeful. You are not just living anyhow. Every decision, every action you take, every action you refuse to take, it is because of your purpose. You no longer chase every trend or bend to every opinion. Wote ya na wodi akyi. Wodi akyi na mmoa koraa na still a wodi akyi. No. No. You no longer chase every trend or bend to every opinion. Instead, you move with direction, with intention, and with peace, your peace. Without it, you may look busy, but you are still drifting. And drifting is not living. You may look busy, but unproductive. And unproductiveness is a waste of time and a waste of life. So ask yourself again, am I sailing with a compass or am I simply at the mercy of the waves? Ask yourself today, am I sailing with a compass or am I simply at the mercy of the waves? Your answer will determine not just where you end up, but also the quality of your journey. You think I'm speaking to you? I'm speaking to myself too. Ask yourself today, am I sailing with a compass, or am I simply at the mercy of the waves? Your answer, my answer, will determine not just where we end up, but the quality of our journey. In the end, the question is not whether the world will call you successful or not, but whether you will look at your life in your 70s and 80s and call that life of yours meaningful. Success is one of the most celebrated words in our world today. It is plastered across billboards, echoed in motivational speeches, and displayed in curated images on social media. Yet beneath all the noise lies a deeper truth, and that is success is not always the same as meaning. So live a meaningful life is different from living a successful life. Success is not always the same as meaning. You can be applauded by the world, recognized as successful, and still feel hollow inside. I said, get this book, The Regrets of the Read It. You stop living anyhow. You can be applauded by the world, recognized, and still feel hollow inside. In the end, the real question is not whether the world will call you successful, but whether you can look at your own life and call it meaningful. Whether you can look at your own life and call it meaningful. And call it meaningful. Whether you can look at your own life and call it meaningful. The danger of chasing the world's definition of success is that it is often shallow, external, and temporary. The danger of chasing the world's definition of success is that it's often shallow, external, and temporary. Society celebrates wealth, fame, and status, but these are fragile. Money can vanish. Money can vanish. We saw people who were so much wealthy and yet they are poor. Money can vanish, fame can fade, and status can shift overnight. If these are the only markers of a successful life, then fulfillment will always remain out of reach. Many people spend their entire lives chasing applause, only to discover that the crowd was cheering for an image, not for who they truly are. Just an image, not for who they truly are. Meaning, however, runs deeper. To live a meaningful life runs deeper. A meaningful life is not defined by how many people know your name, but by how many hearts you have touched. It is not measured by possessions, but by purpose. It is not about being celebrated by strangers, but about being remembered with love by those whose lives you have influenced. A meaningful life, therefore, answers questions like, did I live in the alignment with my values? Did I love well? Did I contribute something that will outlast me? History shows us countless examples. Some figures celebrated in their time and are now forgotten. Some wealthy people who are forgotten, while others who lived quietly but meaningfully continue to inspire generations. Meaning outlives applause. It is the difference between a fleeting echo and a lasting legacy. Meaning outlives applause. It is the difference between a fleeting echo, and a lasting legacy. In the end, when the lights are off and the noise fades, the world's opinion of you, this world, its opinion of you will not matter. That's why if you are living for the validation of others, it is sad. When the lights are off and the noise fades, the world's opinion of you will not matter. What will matter is whether you can stand back, reflect, and say with peace, I lived authentically. I loved deeply. I gave my best. My life was not just successful in the eyes of others, it was meaningful in my own. In the end, when the lights are off, what would really matter is whether you be able to say, I loved deeply, I gave my best. My life was not just successful in the eyes of others, it was meaningful to me. Whether you lived a meaningful life or not. So live for meaning, not just for success. Seek fulfillment, not just recognition. The world may or may not applaud you, it doesn't matter. But if you can look at your life with gratitude and pride, then you have lived truly. Don't live waiting for the world's applause or validation. Because at the end of the day, what will truly matter is to be able to stand back, reflect, and say in peace, I lived authentically. I lived my own life. I loved deeply. I gave my best. My life was not just successful in the eyes of others, it was meaningful in my own eyes. So it is crucial that frequently we do pause and assess our lives. And the barometers are as most important as the pace at which we pause to assess our lives. If not Life would just be moving, and days will turn into weeks, weeks will turn into months, and before we realize, years have passed. As long as we have the gift of life, the year will end. January will come, we'll celebrate Easter, we'll celebrate your birthdays, we'll celebrate Christmas, and the year will end. But there are questions we are supposed to ask ourselves. Are we living intentionally, or we are merely drifting through life? One of the greatest disciplines we can ever cultivate is the ability to pause, reflect, and measure the directions of our lives. If not, we are just drifting through, we are not living. So these two important questions are very crucial to everybody who anticipates growth and evolution. That is, how often do we pause? And number two, what barometers do we use to assess our journey? Whatever barometers you use should be your own, not what is handed down to you. If not, you will stand in some years to come and realize you never fully lived. You are just drifting through life. If we use wrong standards, it would come back hurting your soul, and it wouldn't be anybody's fault. Let the barometers you use be yours, not the ones handed down to you by society, religion, other people's opinions. Let them be based on your values, your vision, and your purpose. 14 days to 14th September. As I mark my birthday this year, these are the questions I'm bringing to you. Are we just supposed to go through life, drift through life? Or we are supposed to live meaningful and purposeful lives? You don't need to answer me. Answer your soul. But we can't deceive our souls. So another evening, that's what I shared with you. In the comment section there, let me hear from you too. Till I come your way again, tomorrow same time, in same space, I say much love and blessing. Thank you to all of you for being on. I'm grateful. In the comment section, you can also share so we also get to know what is in your heart too. Until I see you tomorrow evening, I say much love and blessing. Thank you for being on, and thank you for being a huge support all this while.